Good evening and welcome to the November Volunteer Forum, brought to you from Lorne Fire Station here in beautiful downtown District 7. As Adrian Gooch, the Deputy Chief Officer in this part, would say, Southwest, the jewel of the CFA. It's fantastic to be here and what an awesome night it will be. But before I start, as always, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians and the Aboriginal people, the lands of which we come together to share this forum with. In particular, I pay my respects to the elders of the Eastern Maar people, their ancestors past and present, and I recognise the strength and resilience of First Nations people in Australia, and I also welcome anyone of other Aboriginal communities that might be here watching this evening. Well, it's as usual. We normally like to start somewhere fairly interesting in the fire stations, and I'm joined by Dee. Well,
yep.
Afternoon, Dee.
Hi, Jason. How are you tonight?
Very good, thank you. So we're upstairs. So Lorne Fire Station, as people might not know, it's a shared facility with Ambulance Victoria, and we are upstairs in the crew area.
In the LCF.
In the LCF as well, yes, doubles as an LCF. But you've got quite a lot of history, and there is a lot of history to do with the Lorne Brigade. Do you want to step us through what we're seeing here tonight?
Yeah. So our founding members are the image that you're actually seeing on the wall right now. So the brigade was actually formed in 1936, or officially formed in 1936. We do actually have the plaque up there with the certificate of registration as well. And you've got Hector Stribling, Mr. Alsop and Mr. Howard. And that was formed in 1936 once Lorne actually had reticulated water. So pretty much then moving on, we go up to our Lest We Forget returned soldiers that actually served in World War I and II, which we actually had a total of 37 members back in the day that went off to war. Unfortunately, a couple of them didn't come back from war, but we always respect that on Anzac Day. Each year we march down in the main street. So moving on, we actually have a nice little display of memorabilia that we've actually been donated over the years. Wally Grant, whom is our captain, which we'll get to in a captain for over 26 years, his family donated his epaulets back, which have been mounted on that nice little timber thing there. We've got all his medals, which we have a Queen's Medal, National Medal. He was an honorary Brigade Life member and a CFA Brigade Life member. And Wally served as captain from 1959 through to 1985. He was in the Royal Navy and which in World War II, and served on the HMS Swan, the Gawler and the Warrawee, and then went on to serve on the Australian flagship, the heavy cruiser HMAS Australia, and served within the region of the Coral Sea, and as scan through our other brigade captains, and there's some photos up on the wall of the old communication systems, all sorts of lovely history that we've actually been able to preserve over the years.
Well, Dee, thanks for taking the time to talk us through the history of Lorne. Obviously, a very strong and proud connection to our military serving men and women who went off to fight for our country, and ultimately, as you said, some paid the ultimate sacrifice. So a strong brigade and strong linkages to our armed forces here in Australia. So thank you very much for taking us through that history, Dee. You did a fantastic job of explaining the history, and I know many out there really do enjoy hearing about the history of brigades and what made them so great. And to your point, the identities such as Captain Grant to what I guess makes the Lorne Brigade something special. So thank you very much. Well, tonight's show is jam-packed, and to see what is on tonight, let's have a look. Well, what a fantastic show that we've got coming up tonight, plus something that I've been waiting for a very long time that we'll be releasing to our members tonight, something very, very special indeed. Well, I'm joined on the panel by a number of special guests. I'm joined by Lee, the Captain of Lorne Brigade. Welcome. Good to see you again, Lee.
Thanks for coming down, Joe.
Excellent. And Dee has joined us back on the panel after we did the mad sprint from upstairs. We had something like 30 seconds or so to make it down to the bottom there. I think we did it, and well done. Our Commander, Wayne.
Evening, Chief. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you. The Catchment Commander for the Surf Coast. I could not think...
It's a tough job, isn't it?
...of a better job. And for anyone that doesn't know, Wayne's got a bit of an office upstairs in the Lorne Fire Station. And I reckon, mate, you've got the best view of any officer in this organisation. Ocean views.
We'd like to seek some funding for a balcony. But...
I'm sure. And I must admit, Wayne, while you were on leave recently, I may have come and taken occupancy for a few hours in your office.
It's your coffee cup that we couldn't work out.
Well, probably. And certainly I really appreciate that. And yeah, certainly a beautiful view, a good
Very
spot
nice.
with some really good people.
Yeah, more importantly, yes.
And on the end here, we've got Joe. Yep. Welcome, Joe.
That's cheap, yeah.
We're going to have a little chat later on about some recruitment stuff, so that's looking forward to that. But we might start with you, Lee, if that's all right.
Sure.
Captain of Lorne Fire Brigade.
Yes.
Dee took us through what is a very proud history of this brigade.
It is.
Some very strong traditions, some fantastic people of the past, and particularly a strong connection to the Australian Armed Forces.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about the brigade from your perspective and what it's like to be captain on the Surf Coast.
Yeah, so it was sort of, when I first joined the CFA, I didn't expect to be probably sitting in this chair, but yeah, like we said, there's been some fantastic captains. There are actually some in the room tonight. They've taught me right from the start and how important it is to build such a tight-knit group in such a small community. And I believe that's what we've done, and Joe will touch on that with our recruiting and how we go about that. We're pretty unique down here in Lorne. We get a fair whack of a variety of jobs, and we sit with our population of 1,500 odd, 12 to 1,500, and then come summer,
Yeah, something happens, doesn't it?
it goes bang. So we're up to potentially 20,000 on a big day, Peter Pub Day. So we have to be able to cover all that stuff as well.
And that's led to, I guess, the birth to something that the Lorne Brigade has been doing for quite a period of time. And some might have heard of the Mallacoota Vols on Holes program, but the Lorne Summer program has been running for quite some time. Talk us through what that involves.
Yeah, so basically there's a spare pumper, or the district spare or state spare comes down. So we reach out for expressions of interest to volunteers from the district, from neighbouring districts, whoever's around, to sort of come in and give us a chop out for a couple of days. A lot of our members are working because it's our peak time to make money and do what we have to do. So they basically come together, sit in the shed from, I think it's about 9 o'clock till 7 o'clock, something like that, Wayne. They respond exactly the same as what we do. They don't have to be here. They can go down the beach. They can bring their families down and just enjoy what Lorne has to offer. But if that pager goes off, then they're basically an extension of our brigade.
Yeah. And I guess with that tonight, as always, the usual caveat, we are coming to you tonight from an operational fire station. So in the event that the pages do go off, I'm sure a number of people will frantically run, put their gear on, and I see the pumpers out the front there. So hopefully the backdrop behind us tonight won't go screaming out of the shed.
We'll leave that one.
Has happened before, but certainly, yeah, just a bit of a caveat there. Wayne, from a district perspective, as a catchment commander perspective, obviously Lee touched on what the summer program is like. Tell me, from the district side, what does the district do to get involved, and what are some of the activities and I guess some of that logistical support?
Yeah, so we need a fair bit of logistical support from our mechanical team in terms of an appliance, a state fleet, or from the DMOs locally if they've got one. Our comms department get involved in terms of additional portable radios and things like that, which then roll into our event season. We package up a whole comms plan and give it to them about this time and get a whole lot of gear for a whole lot of different events. Protective equipment provide us some additional equipment. This year we're putting Safe Working at Heights kit on the appliance, as well as the oxygen bags and a couple of other things, the flotation devices that we carry, so all that comes from protective equipment. So there's a fair bit of interaction, I suppose, with other departments within the organisation to get that to happen. Ops comms, our FSCCs, is a whole lot of background work that goes on to make that happen, yeah. So, and we're really lucky that we get the support of our district volunteers and then members from other places. We strategically place some pool cars around the place, so you don't have to travel all the way to Lorne in your own vehicle. You can get one from our district, a couple of spots in our district and outside of our district. So there's a lot that goes on.
Yeah, and certainly something that District 7's been doing for a while, and they're doing a fantastic job.
I think this will be our 10th year.
Yeah, and it's certainly a real success and a real credit to yourself and the district for being able to organise it together. And Lee, as you touched on, there is a benefit to the program. Not only do we see additional fire coverage and protection in Lorne during those peak periods when, as you said, the population goes from 1,500 to some 20,000, but it also allows the members of the brigade to earn their living. Because as a tourist town, obviously people that own businesses, conduct business, and during that peak time, and from as locals and brigade members, how vital is it that the program allows you to go and do what you need to do?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. Dee, for instance, has a shop down on the main street, so that's her busy time. There's a lot of people in restaurants and bar work and so forth. So, there might only be 10 members that would be, tradies like myself who actually have that summer period off. It just saves us.
Yeah. And Dee, what's your experience? What's your experiences been?
As far as the summer relief program goes, it just means that we know that we've got a crew to respond, which is sort of vital, and it just releases us as members from that pressure of not knowing actually how many are sort of turning out as far as local goes, but also traffic congestion in our little town is a major factor. So anyone that lives this side of the bridge can generally get to the station in a reasonable time frame, but anyone that lives on the other side of the bridge, they can be anywhere from half an hour to try and get to the station.
Yeah, wow.
They just literally sit in a car park.
Wow.
Yeah,
Along with our supporting brigades as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I guess that's the challenge, isn't it? If you do have a going structure fire or something like that, you need that support coming in. It's not only it allows the members to obviously assist those that are here on the summer program, but it's good to have that extra resource there because help is in a traffic jam away.
Yep.
Exactly.
We could be up in the bush looking for wildfire or patient lifts with AV, and then we know that we've got a pumper crew here to respond to any of our structural risks that we still have with the 20,000 people in town.
I mentioned upstairs the fact that we are in a joint facility. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so the complex here, I'm not sure when it was built, a while ago. So SES are up the far end as well, and we have AV as well. We all share the common upstairs part. We always multi-agency training. So we basically work as one.
No, that's fantastic. It's great to see the chat is alive this evening with everyone telling us where they're tuning in from, which is fantastic. Please keep it going. And I've got to say a big shout out to a particular former Group General Manager of Support Services who is joining us tonight from ye old London. So thanks, Kylie, for logging in tonight and joining the forum. It's great to have you here, and many of your colleagues are shouting out to you in the chat. Joe, now I know Lorne Brigade, obviously, busy brigade, is involved in their community, but community engagement, community education, some of the activities that go on here. Talk me through, I guess, some of the things that happen, in particular, some of the community events or even famous sporting events that occur and the brigade's involvement.
Yeah, well, maybe Lee, I'll hand some of that to you. Look, obviously this is an events town. It's driven by things like Peter Pub and the festivals that we have. So from a CFA point of view, we need to make sure that we're across what those events are doing, the impact on the town in terms of the population that we've talked about. And in that broader community engagement, how do you, the challenge of engaging not with just the 1,400 people who live here during the whole year, but the 20,000 people that are going to be here for the summer. I think that's the challenge for a brigade like Lorne, is educating the out-of-towners, the tourists, about the risks and how do you engage with that. So, and part of that is the presence in the summer. So people seeing that the trucks are in town, the summer volunteers, those sort of things as well. So yeah, very important part of what we do here, and keeping engaged, not just in the quiet part of the year, but also the busy part of the year as well.
Oh, fantastic. I guess the other element to that is how does, as a small, say country town, coastal town, although probably not that small in comparison to some of the others up and down, talk me about how do you, for a tourist town, talk me through, I guess, how you recruit, get members, keep members when that population base normally is so small, but then expands. Yeah,
and the challenge there is sort of matching that supply and demand. The time that you have to train is when it's quiet, but the potentially extra recruits you need are not here, they're here for the summer. So how do you prepare people for the summer who aren't here pre-summer? And how do you recruit more broadly beyond just the local population? So a couple of things we've done to sort of meet that challenge is look at getting involved with other clubs that have seasonality, like the surf club. Can we recruit out of the surf club? They're generally younger members, and that's good for our brigade. And also looking at people who live here seasonally and how we can tap into them and see changes, tree changes, like myself who've moved down here recently, later in life, and how do you get them involved in the brigade? I think the key to that, in terms of training them once you've got them in the door and engaging with them, is you've got to have a sort of a flexible approach to training. For example, GFF2 going online has been, more online, sort of those, so people can do it self-paced is really important for those seasonal kind of resources that we have. Also being more flexible, sharing that training load amongst the members of the brigade, because if you don't do that, the burden gets too much for the few that are there. And just making sure you can do everything you can to minimise churn amongst the current members, because if we can minimise that, we don't have to worry about recruiting as hard as we go through. So those are a couple of things that we've had to do to make sure that we can not only find people, that we can train them and keep them. And the last point I'd make is the key to that, getting people turning up, engaged, is brigade culture. Mm-hmm. And I think something that I've noticed joining the brigade over the last couple of years is the culture. It is one of inclusion. It's a positive place to be and to volunteer at. And I think that's got to be the key. It's a people organisation, and we have to keep people engaged and keep them positive.
I think you really hit a valuable point there in terms of, we're more than just a fire service. I think you're absolutely, we are a people organisation.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if it wasn't for people, the fire trucks aren't going to get to the fire themselves, the fire's not going to get put out. So I think that's a really important point to make, and it's really glad and good to hear, I guess, the Lorne Brigade really working on, as you say, that brigade culture to ensure that you get that attraction, recruitment and retention.
It's so important for our capability. Yep.
Well done, because you've done a fantastic job of that. A nice, healthy brigade. Wayne, we just heard about the pier to pint, pub. Well, that's certainly what I'd be doing in that. Cadell Evans.
Yeah. So cycling events in general, there's Amy's Grand Fondo that comes down this way, as well as Cadell Evans are running 4 events this year, 2 of them which have an impact on Lorne. So midweek Surf Coast Classics. So they start from the township of Lorne and they go down to our colleagues in District 6 and then come back to Torquay. And the interesting part is District 7 has a lot of events, which is really good, and it's good when you live down here. There's lots of things to go and see and do, and we do a lot of work in that space. But cycling events are really challenging because they close a lot of roads, and I tell the event management all the time, you need to understand we have a volunteer workforce, and you close a road, that's okay, but we've got to get our people to a fire station under normal road conditions to be able to get a fire truck out under emergency conditions. So that's always challenging, and we've done a lot of work with our in our space with our event organisers to do that. But yeah, we have the Amy's Grand Fondo, which is in September, and it'll be in October next year as a bigger and better event for 1 year. But the Cadell Evans race will come in just before, I think it's at the 26th and 27th of Jan, and then it'll start here and go back out to Torquay. But the rolling road closures are an issue for us, as well as at this time of year the risk of the forest or the grassland areas they ride into.
And I guess as the catchment commander, it must really take a lot of coordination on your part to make sure that brigade readiness is not unduly affected by these events, but also ensuring that we're able to protect the people in these events.
Correct.
In the event of something happening.
Yep, and we do a lot of work with the, so most of the shires have an emergency management advisory type group that we bring in the event organisers to, with ourselves and BICPOL and AV, and talk about these sort of things. So we do a lot of planning. We run a fairly strong operations plan for all of these events. So the weekend Cadell events will partnership with FRB because it runs through some of their area and some of ours. So there's a lot of work that gets put into that space.
Again, a fantastic work by District 7, and in a lot of respects, from a state perspective, leading the way in some of these major event planning aspects. So congratulations. I'm going to talk a little bit more later about the AFAC seasonal outlook and what it means. But before we get you off the panel,
end of the world.
It wasn't that long ago. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we saw the fire at Chapel Vale.
Yep.
We have highlighted this area, and the Otways has been above average fire potential for the summer period. What's your observations locally in your catchment?
So the Anglesey or the eastern end of the Otways always can burn in the heath. So, you know, our forest fire management colleagues will go out there in the middle of winter and throw a match in and it'll stooge around for a couple of days.
Planned, of course.
Yes, planned, definitely planned. But yeah, it's talking to our colleagues and doing a little bit of work ourselves. We've seen a couple of little events we didn't like to see, roadside type burns. It's very dry. It's really dry, and you know, we're probably concerned. As you saw, the Chapel Vale event was probably concerning, and yeah, it doesn't look great.
So all the members out there watching, I guess, pack the strike team bag. It might be needed.
Yeah. Well, we've had a busy start already, so
Absolutely.
thankfully the rain will slow us down for a week, but probably that's about it.
And unfortunately, that's been pretty patchy too across the state. So, yeah. Oh, well, thanks for that, Wayne. Now, Dee, a lot of people have the bring your pet to work type arrangement. Most people have cats, dogs, the odd iguana, but you've got a rock.
Yeah.
Talk me through it.
The culprit's actually sitting in the room tonight. So at an awards night, I don't know how many years ago it was now, it was about 2016 or so, Fraser Buckle, our captain at the time, presented me with a rock and proclaimed that I was the rock of the brigade. So I had it hiding upstairs and I tried to actually take it out of the way, and Brad went, "What's the story with the rock?" And I quietly told him and went to take it away, and he grabbed it out of my hands and brought it downstairs. So yeah.
Very good. Look, and I've got to say, from Fraggle Rock to the rock star himself, Fraser, do you want to tell your side of the story? A write or reply?
Well, what can I say? Well, the water Dee, that rock, had to think about it a bit. We're in pretty low numbers at that time, I believe. Yeah. And we're sort of reforming or regrouping the brigade at the time, and me and Dee had lots of chats about bits and pieces of where we should head in the future. And I suppose Dee was pretty supportive of me as a new captain at the time. And I sort of said to Dee, you know, she was doing a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people weren't seeing. And so I presented her with this award of being, if you're going to build a strong fire brigade, you have to start with strong foundations. And Dee was the rock that was holding us together at the time.
The foundation stone. It's in the future. Well done. Thanks, Fraser, for telling your side of the story, and well done, Dee, for getting the award, and great effort. Well, it's fantastic to hear about the Lorne Fire Brigade and what they've been up to, and we're going to keep a few more people here on the panel. Lee, we haven't finished with you yet. A lot more to come. But as many people would know, the recent expansion of renewable and replaceable technologies and transmission lines is becoming a bit of a factor and feature here in CFA. And the team took a bit of time to go up to Glenrowan to have a look at a solar farm and make a bit of a recording and have a conversation around what it means to have this type of installation in your brigade area.
So today with the Glenrowan West Solar Farm in Glenrowan, where we're providing some training for the local responding volunteer crews. Part of the risk management process here and provide the safety for our firefighters is collaboration with the solar farm industry to make sure that our firefighters are kept safe and we can suppress any fires within the solar farm and keep the broader community safe as well. Firefighting within the solar farm can be undertaken safely following our risk management processes by suppressing fire as it approaches any of the control lines that exist within the solar farm itself. So we keep water supplies off the infrastructure and just suppress the fire within the grassland, allowing those fires to burn out as they come closer to the fire appliances. The best way for risk mitigation in these facilities is to collaborate with the industry, and we have a great working relationship and partnership with the operators and management of the solar facilities in this area. We regularly conduct site visits and training with the local volunteers from their brigades, and we also regularly undertake site inspections, working to improve egress and access water supplies and maintain fire safety within these facilities.
These training sessions are huge for us because it gives the different brigades a chance to have a look at the layout of the farm. It's quite complex It gives them a good overview of where everything's laid out, where the dangers are, what can be isolated and what can't be.
District 23 has been really good in promoting opportunity for brigades to come and liaise with the site management and to conduct training events and activities to hone our skill and to be familiar with response if we do get called to these facilities for an event. The more we come and train, the more we get familiar with the sites and the intricacies that they have, the more comfortable we feel in an operational environment when we actually have to come here and respond. Things will fall into place quite well. So we've been involved with District 23 in specifically here at the Gentari site for the last 18 months, developing pre-incident response plans. So they basically tailor out our needs. So when we first get called to the event, it's about establishing early contact with the site management as well as with CFA brigades to establish a control plan that works within our priorities and our strategy and our tactics, and then we can implement those to try and keep the size of the incident quite small so that we can manage it easily.
Well, what a fantastic video and a great initiative from District 23 and seeing some of the things that they're doing to ensure our members know what to do when they turn up to these facilities and how they're going. Again, a big shout out to everyone in the chat. We do have our senior managers from CFA in the chat ready and poised to answer your questions. A few that I want to touch on. Shane Bullen, who's managing the rollout of the new helmet stickers, internal BAPE. Members who received theirs were sent an internal BA and not an internal PE one. Shane, if you just want to send an email to chief.officer@CFA, I'll forward that on to the respective individual that can take care of that for you. Thanks very much for that question. Wayne, we might circle back if we get some time, but a question in the chat about some of the great work you're doing about some temporary and satellite stations.
Yeah.
A bit of a new initiative in District 7, which I am sure is going to achieve great results. And Terry, a shout out, is it possible to invite the Emergency Services Minister to a future forum? I can certainly extend an invitation out and ask and see what we can make happen in that regard. Well, we've got some new panel members on the panel. So good evening and welcome, Matt Allen,
Chief,
our technical expert and all things guru to do with renewable energies, and we'll touch base on that because quite an achievement there. And then we've got Scott Chirnside. Welcome, Scott, to the panel.
Thank you, Chair.
And we're going to talk about things agricultural in a minute. So welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Matt, fair to say, renewable energies have been keeping you and I very busy.
Absolutely.
It has been a growth industry, well, it is a growth industry, and one that is challenging some of our members in parts of the state for a number of reasons. One being, I guess, community related for the individuals within the communities, and we recognise that communities have their respective views towards these type of developments. But the other factor is our members asking, what about the fire safety aspects? How do I fight fires, in these facilities or heading into or coming out of these type of facilities? And the final one, obviously, is the proponents of these developments themselves asking CFA and government and those approval authorities, well, how can I build these things that are fire safe and the like? So talk us through your role, your unit, and some of the work that you've been doing.
Certainly, thanks, Jason. I actually work for the Specialist Risk and Fire Safety Unit, and myself and Jen Blythe work in that unit looking at the risks associated with renewable energy. It's quite some time ago, back in 2018, I was coming back from Mildura and stopped on the side of the road near a solar farm and rang up my manager, Andrew, and said, we have a bit of an issue here that I don't think we're actually looking at properly, and that was solar farms. And Andrew said, go away and fix it. So I did, and Jen and myself developed the Renewable Energy Guideline that's available on the CFA website. And it's a document that developers can utilise to look at what the requirements are from a CFA perspective in relation to fire safety for those sites. So that guideline has gone through a number of iterations over the last sort of 4 years, based on the changes that are happening with that industry. So we've gone from the traditional wind and solar into having battery energy storage systems, and we have a large number of applications currently going through the state in relation to BESS units, and our last iteration of this actually sort of focused a little bit more on the battery side of it, so that we could get the infrastructure in place on site so that our brigades could respond and be as safe as they can be.
So, and Matt, you've been pretty modest, because not many people would know this perhaps, but the guideline that's been developed by Matt and the team is recognised around the world as leading practice. In fact, many eminent international fire and risk champions have been sharing your guidelines, and particularly I saw an email from Professor Christensen sort of telling the UK and American governments that this was the leading publication. And you recently went to G6, was it G6 I think?
No, I went to APEC.
APEC, yes. APEC, to speak to international leaders on this very topic.
Yeah, August last year I was lucky enough to be sponsored to go across to APEC and speak to the 21 APEC nations about renewable energy and specifically battery energy storage, and was invited over by Underwriters Laboratory from the United States to come and actually have a chat about our guideline. And there was a lot of keen interest from a number of nations around the world in relation to it, because from a fire perspective, it actually hadn't been developed anywhere. So we were world leaders in that space. There's obviously a lot more renewable energy guidance out there now around the world, but our document still sort of sits up there as one of the top ones.
Yeah, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And so I guess if we talk about renewable installations, talk us through, I guess, from a layman's perspective, what are some of the fire protection mechanisms that might be in a BESS installation or a wind farm or a solar farm?
They definitely change depending on the installation. So from a wind farm perspective, it's about looking at the infrastructure of the wind turbine, having a look to see that we have enough vegetation management around the bases of those turbines, having the road infrastructure so that our units can get into each of the turbines if we do have an incident. In relation to solar, it's more about making sure that a fire that may start within a solar farm doesn't penetrate outside of the solar farm to affect the community. So we've put a lot of parameters around fire breaks, perimeter ring roads, roads within the network, so that we can get to all parts of the facility. We also, for wind and solar, ask for fire water in tanks. And that's obviously dependent on the size. So for a particular solar farm, it's 45,000 litres per every 100 hectares. So you'll get on a fairly decent solar farm up to 7 or 8 tanks. And then for the BESS unit, it's a standalone system that is hydrants, pumps, and anything up to about 576,000 litres of water.
Because unfortunately, District 7, it all happens in District 7, right? Has a bit of experience with battery energy facilities, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Aylmer, but the Lovely Banks Tesla battery fire was that one of the first in the world that occurred?
Yeah, it was, and we were, I don't want to say lucky, but we were lucky enough to be able to use a lot of the information that came out of that incident to really facilitate a lot of change within our document. For those of you who don't know, the Renewable battery sort of went through a development phase really early on, and there's not the water supply at that location. So when our responders got there, they're dealing with 2 tanks that were required for bushfire, not so much for dealing with a fire, and the appliances on site and the incident controller basically had to run a 2.5k line hydrant line from a hydrant that was obviously 2.5 k's away. So we used a lot of water at that event, and we've learnt a lot about that over the period. We probably wouldn't use that amount of water again, hence why we don't ask for 1 million litres of water per se at a battery energy storage system, but we use the Australian standard 2419, which is the hydrant standard for the basis of what's required at a BESS unit.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly some fantastic information there. And Matt, I know you've been travelling the state, talking to districts and brigades that have concerns around these, and very shortly we'll be releasing some information around a renewable energies action plan within CFA, which will see greater information to our members, but also allowing our brigades that have these type of facilities in their area a voice and consultation mechanisms back to you and your team to ensure that we're fully informed to the feelings, the thoughts of our brigades, but also allowing technical experts and specialists like you, Matt, to be able to impart your knowledge and expertise into our frontline firefighters. So well done, congratulations. I know it's been a mammoth task and will continue to be, and grows by the day. And you're certainly you and your team are certainly doing a fantastic job, and to be commended. So
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Well, Scott, time to talk farming.
Yeah, it's probably the last place people expect to have a farmer sitting at Lorne amongst these things, and I keep trying to tell people I'm meant to be retired, but...
Depends if the farmer surfs.
No, I don't actually. I love the bush more than anything else, and I like the community. I don't mind the coffee either, just quietly, or the food, but no, not a surfer. The group officer over there is a surfer, but no, not me.
So talk us through, I guess, harvesting haystacks and some of that bushwork that happens in this area.
Well, it doesn't happen in this area. My background is originally from Little River, and as an anarchy group officer and whatever, and a farmer for a long time. And it's interesting that January the 14th next year is 40 years since one of the worst harvester fires, where it in fact burnt 10,000 hectares in the anarchy group, and I actually was the commander of that fire at a fairly young age. Mm-hmm. But the harvester thing has really changed in the way we think about harvesters nowadays in terms of where the fires start. When I was a young bloke, most of the fires in the harvester started either in bearings or in knives that get hit by a stone or whatever. But there's been a lot of research happening about harvester fires now, and only about 20% of harvester fires start from those bearings and other things, and really the balance, about 80%, is happening in and around the engine bay and the sheer heat that's there. Everybody needs to realise that, your average harvester, or your bigger ones now, 470 kilowatts, 630 horsepower, and enormous temperatures happening in around the exhaust manifolds and turbos. And so it's really a four-step approach to trying to stop those things happening. First of all, obviously cleaning at least daily, sometimes twice daily, around the engine bays. And again, most of the engines in modern harvesters have gone to the back of the machine, so it can be on fire for a while before you actually even realise, which is a worry. So cleanliness is really important. Equally, on those hotter days, just coming back off, rather than running the machine to 100%, dropping it back to 70 or 80% can make an enormous difference in terms of the temperature of what those engines are doing. Obviously any machine, if you run it at absolute maximum horsepower, then it creates more heat than anything else. The third thing is obviously having an appliance in the paddock. We used to talk about minimum of 250 litres, but it's a bit like BESS fires, that really most farmers, particularly in the southwest, are going to have an appliance that's going to have a similar water capacity to what's behind me, 2,500 litres, and it's going to be in the paddock. It's that eternal thing with any fire, a bucket of water in 10 seconds will solve it, but the next problem is 200 litres might solve it in the next 30 seconds. It doesn't take long with a harvester fire and stubble that it can be 30 hectares in 10 or 15 minutes. So the final thing that's really important is, again, the VFF, once upon a time, 25 years ago, the captain and the group officers used to decide, righto, everybody out, it's too dangerous, we're going to stop. VFF and CFA have produced a really good reference, and you only have to Google CFA harvester safety or VFF CFA harvester safety. A chart has been produced that is between relative humidity and temperature, like any type of fire situation, and has a cross-reference for wind. And literally the moment that the wind is over 25 or so kilometres an hour, it's probably time to stop. We've gone away with that silly system that New South Wales introduced where, they used to say a declared day you can't harvest. Some of your best work is done between 6 o'clock at night and well into the night on those days when the temperature and relative humidity has changed or the wind is reduced.
So I guess on that one, Scott, you'll be pleased to hear one of my little projects when I was in New South Wales was to review the harvest safety guideline. And there's no such thing now as a harvester ban. In fact, similar deal. You look at the chart, temperature, relative humidity, and if you get above a certain number, you've got to stop, check, and then decide whether you will continue harvesting. Certainly a long way from the old days of watching dust raise from the rear of the harvester. So we're moving on from harvesting now to haystacks. Yeah, tell us about that.
So hay's a really interesting one, and just unfortunately, and again, we've got to think of the mental health issues that we're facing in Victoria this year, because it's been a tough year for lots of the southwest, and equally a lot of frost in the central parts of Victoria as well. Hay, particularly in big squares, as we're seeing on screen, can be a real issue. And we're seeing some exceptional things this year where even if hay was baled at the right moisture content, the 14 to 16% moisture content, because we're running very high sugars in pasture hay this year, a lot of people are finding that it's actually increasing in moisture after it's baled and can be higher the next day. So with round bales, it's relatively easy to leave them out in the paddock and breathe. But in a square bale situation, when they're stacked, obviously people still need to keep checking to make sure that they're not heating up. Now, lots of you people suggest we probably should be using a tick, but even somebody driving a crowbar into the centre of a stack of hay, and if you can't hang on to it, you need to pull it out as quickly as you put it in. So it's a bit of an exceptional year for possible stack fires. We've already had one in District 7 in the coastal group in the Freshwater Creek area. And so it's just about people being vigilant, being responsible about when it goes in a bale, but don't believe because it went in at 15%, it mightn't be 22 or 3% the next day.
Now, look, certainly some fantastic words of wisdom from Scott on all things agricultural. And I do think it's been a challenging year, particularly for harvesting as well. As we know, it hasn't been that good a season for rain, which ultimately is yielding, having an effect on yields, and ultimately will lead to, I guess, lower combs, more dust, and some of those issues there. I know the team in District 18, Gavin Wright and the team up there have been doing a fantastic job of working with local communities, harvesters, farmers and harvesting contractors around recognising what some of the signs are, as you touched on, and that cleanliness, harvester cleanliness, because that really does go to prevent fires. Well, it's that time of the forum again where we get to hear from Deputy Chief Officer Rohan Luke about some of the latest updates in training. So over to you, Rohan.
Thanks, Chief, and welcome to everyone to tonight's training update in the November Volunteer Forum. Firstly, driver training trucks. People will be aware that we had 2 driver training trucks in the fleet that were housed out of Central Highlands. This week we saw the handover and release of 5 new trucks to build that fleet. So we've got 5 automatic tanker replicas of medium tankers that are now out on the streets and are being delivered to the training grounds. And we've got another 5 that are due after January, which will be manual transmission trucks. So these trucks are a great asset to us. They allow us to not rely as heavily on our firefighting fleet and to use a vehicle that has similar weight distribution, similar driving characteristics, and similar performance as what our fire tankers have. It'll take some pressure off the brigades as we roll out courses. The priority for those courses will be state and district-based courses, but if they're not required, they will be available at a local level for local driver training activities, and they'll be able to be booked through the training campus. brigades may be aware that we reached out to brigades and asked for identification of members who had internal BA as a fire attack, hazmat, PE, crew leader, Code 1, Code 3 drivers, for twofold. The first one is that we're looking to release stickers for brigades to identify internal fire attack, hazmat and protective equipment operators. So that'll see stickers start to come out through the districts this week. At this stage, I think we've got about 2,500 stickers that are ready for release, and the opportunity is still there for brigades who have members that require stickers to identify their skills on the fire ground to reach out, and we'll provide those. The second part of it, particularly around the crew leader and Code 1 driver, Code 3 driver, it gives us the opportunity to actually record some of those things that are identified locally at a brigade level. We'd like to record them centrally as a part of our skills recognition and endorsement recognition through our LMS. So what we're doing through our LMS to try and capture that is we'll eventually see those skills and those endorsements recorded on the LMS, so the brigades will have a better understanding of what competencies, skills and endorsements are carried at a brigade level, which will assist in brigade planning but also in future delivery of courses. The next part, people will be aware that the Chief Officer's operational requirements of GFF, entrapment and tree hazard as skills and skills maintenance requirements are being recorded through the LMS, but we've had some challenges in then replicating that data back to you, to your brigades. We've now come up with a tool, and we spoke about it last month, but through the Power BI tool, which provides access to more detailed data for our brigades to understand the capacity and the status of the membership. The challenges we've had with the LMS rectification, as we speak, we're continuing to work through a testing regime. So we're working really hard. We're working with the vendor to test each of the rectification works as we're progressing them. So over the last couple of weeks, you most likely wouldn't have noticed in any great effect, but there have been a series of upgrades being loaded onto the system overnight, and then in the mornings we go into a testing regime to ensure that they have been successful. We know we're going to have a little bit more pain as we continue to progress those improvements and those fixes, and we hope to be in a far better place in the next weeks and potentially months. And we do acknowledge and thank you for your support and patience as we work through that. The challenging bit for us has been really about getting information available to brigades in a consistent way to understand what the implications are of the LMS rectification work and of the upgrades, and give some clarity to all of our users on what that means for them individually. So what we've now got on Members Online is a one-stop shop for information around the LMS upgrades and guides. So if you go through the training page and click on the LMS upgrades, there is a section there that rolls through which gives information and instructions and guides and guidance to a whole series of roles within CFA that use LMS. On the LMS itself, we've provided brigade training coordinators and group training coordinators user guides, and they're available and they're found under the brigade training profiles. So they will again assist brigades in how to do things like enter data, how to check data and similar. So I'd encourage particularly our brigade training coordinators and group training coordinators to use the LMS function as well to give them even greater clarity around some of the changes that affect them locally. I will now talk about our training policy, and we've had a number of discussions recently on the back of the AFAC recommendations around training within CFA. So training, or ODT with executive, have developed a training policy that really sets out the guidelines on how we will do training across all of the organisation, which has obviously been adopted, and we're now looking to apply a range of procedures that support the policy. So two procedures that we've got in train at the moment that have been out for consultation around our instructor endorsements and what we're now referring to as recognised practitioners. The first one, instructor endorsement. So we've done some work across the state. We've done a series of conferences, and it was really obvious through those conferences that there was a range of methods from district to location on the requirements to be endorsed to deliver certain courses as an instructor. That's extremely inconsistent and challenging, and we've had a lot of feedback about what that means and limits our ability to deliver training. So part of the procedures around our instructor endorsement process is to give consistency and clarity on how we endorse our instructors to deliver courses into the future. And in the same way, we want to use the opportunity here to ensure that no matter where that instructor comes from, they have the same standard and the same approach and can deliver anywhere across the state. The other one here is around our recognised practitioners, and it's a term that people may not be as familiar with. We have in the past used things like SMEs. For us, recognised practitioner is someone who has a significant layer of skills or level of skills at a certain role or function, to the point where they would be able to deliver the product or deliver the course with the assistance of an instructor. So things particularly like incident management, where not all of our instructors have a high level of incident management skills and experience, but they've got really high level instructor skills. And then we've got some people who live and breathe incident management but aren't instructors. So the procedure around recognised practitioners is bringing both the recognised practitioner and an instructor together to co-deliver, so we meet our RTO requirements, but we also acknowledge that experience, that wealth of experience through our operational members who have those specialist skills to help deliver courses. So I think it's a really good approach, and I think that will also be a bit of a game changer for us going forward to help offer more and more courses to brigades as we continue to roll out programs. The last one I will talk about tonight is Respond to Urban Digital. We've now loaded the theory packages for Respond to Urban on the LMS as a digital learning package. So what that means is members can individually or as a group using computers or tablets do the Respond to Urban Digital in their own time, which then means at the end, part of that program would be that they then go and do the practical assessments at a training campus. The way that we would approach this is that we would look for the CLDs to set up the courses on the LMS with the participants aligned for the digital theory and digital assessment component, rather than coming into a classroom or coming into a training campus to do that. So I think it's a good option. I reckon we'll get some good feedback around it. It's probably not for everyone, and that's why we really encourage the district training committees to work with their CLDs, leads and MLDs to work out what's the best model for their district and apply that locally. But I think we'll see some really good outcomes and results from that process, and this is all about making training more accessible to our members. So thanks, Chief. I'll pass back to you.
Thanks for the training update, Rohan. Again, some really great work done by our ODT team, and a big thank you to all involved and to our training teams out in the districts that are really working hard to ensure our members are trained to world-class standard and getting out there and doing what you do best, which is protecting our Victorian communities. Well, some of you might be thinking, well, who is this strange man sitting beside me? Well, I pretty well know that a lot of you out there are probably going, that's not strange, it's Greg Leach. And I'd like to welcome Greg Leach, who has been appointed by the board and the government to be the new CEO of CFA, following in the footsteps of Natalie McDonald, who has recently retired. So Greg, a bit of a returning home, isn't it? Because you started with CFA many, and I know you're not that old, but a while ago. Tell us about your beginnings in CFA.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Great to join you again. Yes, 17 years since I left CFA, but it's great to be back, and just wanted to acknowledge the great work of Natalie McDonald and thank Natalie for her time as CEO, and I'm very excited to step into the role. My time with CFA goes all the way back to 1978 when I started as a volunteer. I was a junior initially and had 10 years as a volunteer with the Riola Rural Fire Brigade, which is now in District 20. And then in 1986 I joined CFA as a district mechanical officer working out of the Kangaroo Flat Workshop, and then did my recruit course in 1988 and spent the next 20 odd years working in various parts of the state, mainly in Western Victoria, and with my last stint here at CFA headquarters, where I was the manager of structural fire planning. So went off and done some other things, and here I am back again, and very excited to be back part of the CFA family.
So quite a humble beginning, and a really, I guess, a traditional beginning into CFA and a volunteer aspect. Tell me a bit about your home brigade, where you first started.
Yeah, where I grew up at Riola, we were a small rural farming community. Dad was the apparatus officer of the brigade and then a captain later on. But during my time with the brigade, we were a strong championships brigade, rural championships in particular, so strong emphasis around bringing juniors through the brigade, even though we were a relatively small brigade. And then we were pretty active within the Inglewood group of fire brigades as it was at the time. And during that time, of course, as a volunteer, Ash Wednesday occurred. That was a significant time for not only CFA but for Victorians, and sort of changed the whole way that we went around fighting fires here in Victoria and how we prepare communities. And then probably the largest fire that I was personally involved in was the Maryborough Avoca fire in 1985. So quite an interesting time. And then I'd started off my career as a motor mechanic and had worked with the DMOs. But then when the opportunity came up to join the operations side in 1988, a great opportunity for me, and I really enjoyed that time.
Look, I know what everyone out there is thinking, and yes, you are 100% right. I have found the fourth member of the Chiefs Chargers. He's just admitted to having a running background, so we might have a chance this year at Melton, putting you on notice. So, yeah, District Mechanical Officer, to the CEO of the CFA. During, I guess, your time as a demo and then into the operational career ranks, you would have seen so many changes of the CFA from back then to now.
From where we are today. If you think about coming off the back of Ash Wednesday, we were still running a fleet of Austin fire trucks. The heat shielding program that occurred after that time, the fitment of electric fuel pumps and to fix fuel vaporisation issues. If you think about the technology we were using then to the technology we're using today, like we've come ahead leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
But of course, the environment's getting tougher for us as well. So, climate-induced events with frequency, intensity, the duration of events, and so the equipment needs to be better. Our people need to be better trained, and we need to be ready for whatever the future throws at us.
Absolutely. So that was 17 years ago, and then you left the CFA and went to work for a number of other emergency services. Talk us through, I guess, your career path.
Yeah, sure. So when I left CFA 2007, I went to Ambulance Victoria for 7.5 years, and I was the regional manager of Grampians region. Then I went to the Metropolitan Fire Brigade for 5 years as the Deputy Chief in charge of operational training, and my last 6 months there was as the acting Chief. Then I went to Queensland as Commissioner of Queensland Fire and Emergency Services for 4 years, and then back to Victoria last year as the CEO of SES. But the pull back to CFA was too great, and so when the opportunity came up, I jumped at it, and really pleased to be back.
Fantastic. Well, Greg, there's a little thing we do in CFA from time to time called 5 seconds to answer, and where I get to ask the big hard-hitting questions of people, and you've got 5 seconds to answer. So you ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Favourite football team?
Geelong Cats.
Very good, man.
Yes.
Volunteer brigades?
They are the backbone of many rural communities.
Biggest challenge facing CFA?
Probably financial sustainability.
Biggest challenges facing community?
Readiness for what climate-induced fires are going to bring.
And your vision for CFA for the next 5 years?
Continue to support our frontline people to do the great work that they do.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Greg, for sitting down with me today and having a conversation, giving a bit of an insight to yourself. We're not going to give it all away today. Many people will get an opportunity to meet Greg very shortly after Christmas. Greg will be embarking on a CEO tour around the state to meet our people, to say g'day, and to hear firsthand some of the challenges and opportunities, and also great work that our people are doing right across the state. So thank you, Greg. We'll get you on a panel in real life and experience that for yourself. And I wish you all the success for your tour, and might even try to jump in on a few legs of it. So excellent. Well, thank you very much for that again, and back to the panel. Well, thanks, Greg, for participating in that little interview with myself. An absolutely sterling CEO, and really will fill the role, and particularly big thanks to Natalie McDonald. Big shoes to fill, but certainly Greg seems like he's well suited to the role, returning to CFA, and the fact that he goes for Geelong just tops it off for me. Well, moving along from that, and don't worry, everyone, you're not going to get the 5 seconds to answer on the panel tonight. I'll be kind. I'd like to introduce you to our Deputy Chief Financial Officer. I nearly then said Deputy Chief Officer, but no, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. That's right. And I have to be nice to Mohini because she holds the purse and the money. So you always be nice to a number of people. Your Chief Financial Officer and your accountant. Just a little tip for everyone. So Mohini Sashindranath. So welcome.
Thank you, Jason.
And you're here tonight to tell us about an exciting development that's been brought into CFA to streamline how we recompense, reimburse and ensure that our volunteers are not out of pocket unreasonably for the activities that they do. So let us in on the secret.
Great, thank you. Evening, everyone. Very pleased to be here at Lorne. As Jason mentioned, you may be aware or you may have heard that we have launched Concur, our new expense reimbursement system for volunteers for any pre-approved expenses that you incur in performing your duties on behalf of CFA. Concur is available via a mobile app, and what it ensures is that you can seek your reimbursements on the go and get reimbursed much faster through the seamless interfaces that are available. Concur currently can be used for expenses excluding major incident-related expenses and health-related expenses, but that will be available at a later stage, and we'll definitely inform you of that. I'm going to throw to Mandy and Joe now, who are going to demonstrate how easy it is to use Concur to lodge your expenses.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mandy.
I believe you've got a claim to log for us today.
I do. So earlier today, actually, I got set up on Concur. So I had to verify my email and download the app, and it was pretty simple process to do.
Yeah, that's great.
And now what I'm going to do is raise a claim and an expense in that claim to for some expenses I incurred while I did some training. So first of all, I got to create a new claim. So a claim's like the form you fill out. You can name that, the training weekend or whatever that was, so you know where you're at. And then create that claim. And then within that training claim, I can then raise expenses, and I might have a number of expenses that sit under one claim. So in this case, I'm going to raise an expense. So a new expense.
While you're doing that, did you receive pre-approval for your trip?
Yeah, so this was approved training, and what I'm going to do now is claim for kilometres that I used in my own vehicle. But first I had to check if I could use the Brigade FCV and then go up the chain of command to see if there was a pool vehicle available first. There wasn't in this case, so now I'm going to claim for this training that I did in Melton for the kilometres to be reimbursed. So I've come up in this expense type here, and I can claim under this particular one, kilometre reimbursement. In the startup process that I did, I've entered my vehicle, which is just the vehicle ID car 1 here, and I can put in the expense, I can actually add a route. So I can say I started in Lorne, just suburb to suburb here, and then I went to Melton for training. I can use that, it's calculated the distance, so I can use that route. And then I just go through and fill out some of these other fields in terms of number of passengers, what type of reimbursement, delegate category, which is just general for this, when it happened, I'll just put today. The purpose of the trip, I just put training down there. From location, and a comment I could put, no pool vehicle available, so I use my own vehicle.
And that would help the person who's approving your claim?
Yeah, 100%. So like training, no vehicle available. And then once I've done that, you can see that it's calculated automatically the amount of the reimbursement based on the number of kilometres. So I can save that particular expense to this claim. So that's been added to the thing. So then back in my claim, I have the overarching claim, I have that expense in there and I could submit that particular expense for reimbursement. So it's pretty straightforward, and the app works well. Just downloaded it from the App Store and off I went.
They look pretty easy.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. It was good. It's a
Yep.
good system. Seems like a good system, yeah.
And did you know that you can also see the status of your claim?
I think you can go up in here and look at the status of the claim and what part of the process it's in terms of approval. So
Yeah,
it's
perfect.
fantastic.
So the aim is to get you reimbursed as quickly as possible.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah, so thank you so much for showing us how easy that was.
Thanks, Manny. Yeah, cheers.
Back to you, Jason.
Well, Mohini, that real exciting technology there. I know already a number of people within CFA are using it because I'm getting the approval requests coming through to my phone. I have the app on my phone as well. A really great initiative to get rid of the paper.
Absolutely.
But not only that, make sure that these are processed in a real timely way and get those expenses and those claims into the bank accounts of our volunteers as soon as possible.
That's right. And we've already had 74 volunteers access Concur and about 24 claims that have been paid to them as well. So thank you. It's been great.
So talk me through probably some questions that I know probably of the crew out there. How long would it normally take for, I've done through the process as was demonstrated, I've hit submit. What happens then?
So once you access Concur via the app or as was demonstrated or via the website, your claim just routes through to the district business manager for approval, and there are some certain checks that we do at the back end to ensure from a compliance perspective we're meeting reporting requirements, for example GST and so forth, and if everything flows through seamlessly, you could get reimbursed within the next few days because we do our payment runs on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So for example, if you've gone to a training event on a Monday, lodged your claim and it's been approved that evening by the district business manager, you could effectively be paid the next day. We do have to set you up as a vendor in SAP, and the app does allow you to direct you to how to do that as well. So it is much quicker than before. Your paperwork doesn't get lost in email inboxes, and we will ensure, of course, that we're here to support you with any questions you might have. And please do reach out, and we're very, very happy to share any more information. There's a session on Saturday for volunteers at 2 p.m. So feel free to join that as well to learn more about Concur.
Well done. A big shout out to the whole team. The big kahuna of money, Sam Costanzo himself says, well done to the team. Big shout out to yourself and Mandy tonight for a great effort in presenting that. Just a quick answer to Rodney's question, do you need receipts to be attached with the claim? If it's a non-travel related, so you saw a kilometres claim then, but if you were claiming another expense, then yes, an appropriate legible tax receipt, so you must show the GST amount and the ABN and the provider number just needs to be attached. Now the beauty of the Concur system is that is just a simple photograph of the receipt within the app, and that is sufficient. So well done everyone involved, it's fantastic to see. Well, speaking of apps, it's been 4 years in the making. My time has finally come, and it's with great pleasure that I announce that tonight will be the launch of the CFA Pocketbook App, which is now available to all members. In fact, whilst we've been on air this evening, your inbox have been filled up with information of how to access the app on the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store to be able to download. It's a fantastic development. It's been a long time in the making, full of useful tools, information, topics, calculators, and one of the other key features that we have also, which is really a development, is no more mucking around looking for contact books and the sort of alike. We've now put the contacts electronically through the Pocketbook app. There is one more ID protection thing that you will need to go through when setting up the app to access the contacts. contacts. That's to ensure your personal data and privacy. So it'll either be a PIN or a finger or or Face ID. Otherwise, if you don't want to set it up, that's purely up to you. You will still get all the benefits of the app other than the contacts. It's been fantastic. Operational topics, you can see lessons management, case studies, SOs, standing orders, SOPs, operational tutorial videos. In fact, during the training update tonight, you saw a video of 2 members donning and doffing their caber. That's actually from one of the operational tutorial videos. And there are many in there, and a big shout out to Gavin Wright and the team at District 18 for helping put those together. It has many, many more features, and Paul, and I think the comment was made in the chat, yes, it even allows you to search acronyms. There's a full acronym library on the app, so if you don't know an acronym, then you're able to search it. One of my favourite features on the app is 2 things. One, it is fully available offline, so you do not need to be in mobile phone reception for the app to work, other than watching the videos, I've got to say. And then secondly, the search function on it searches the entire app across all content within the app. So if you're not quite sure what SOP something comes from, as an example, just type the word recovery in the search bar and it will bring up anything to do with recovery of vehicles, SOPs, training or other material, including relevant lessons management case studies. So I just want to take this opportunity to shout out a big thanks to Kayleen Jones, to Jackie Montgomery, Darren Simons and Tim Connor, and all the team that come together. There were some 400 people that were involved in the UAT testing, a lot of volunteer input into the app, volunteer testing as part of the steer group, and also the broader PCB. Thank you very, very much. The whole team has made this chief very, very happy. If you want to download the app, we'll put a link to members online in the chat, but otherwise, a message has gone out to all members providing an update and the relevant QR codes to allow you to get access to it. So certainly a fantastic achievement and one that I'm very excited for, as you could tell. Well, International Day of People with a Disability is the 3rd of December, and we've got a bit of a video here featuring one of the aspects of that, and then we're going to come back to Lee and have a bit of a chat, because it's something probably a little bit close to your heart. Yep. And really good demonstration of how we can make appropriate adjustment and really celebrate all members, particularly even some members that might have a disability within even our operational ranks.
We're here today talking to the CFA and about a project that we've been working on with them for a couple of months now in renewing a range of their radios, and it's really important work for us and for our participants. It's really interesting and detailed work.
It's really great to be able to have a partnership between the Radio Replacement Project and Waverley Social Enterprises. The work Waverley are doing with our bag radios is really critical. We have approximately 1,600 bag radios that we need to change over to new Motorola radios, and a lot of detail needs to be done to swap the radios over. The work Waverley are doing is helping us ensure that we can get the rollout done on time. When we roll out our portables and our mobiles, we'll also be attempting to bring the bag radios out and swap it over with our members at the same time.
Part of what Waverley try and do is empower and upskill our employees. So there's a range of training that comes into this. So the fact that this is a new job, there's a range of training that's been provided, be it soldering, using different tools, workflow management. One of our team leaders actually came up with a really innovative workflow management idea that we've implemented. So it really upskills people that they can then do a wider range of things, which keeps them interested.
Oh, look, it's extremely important to the team here at Waverley, especially the employees you've met so far, the skills they're learning from that. And in a sense, it's given back to that community, and they know that the quality going into it is going to make a huge difference out there.
I'm an assembler, so I do the whole job from start to finish. Yeah, that's my role. It can entail a lot of drilling, a lot of stripping, crimping, plenty of assembly work. So I've learnt a wide variety of jobs. I'm sort of multitask, yeah.
I do a lot of different jobs. Like I've been doing a bit of the CFA job. Like I've been learning it. I haven't got the exact skills that everyone else does, but I'm trying to learn and get good at it. I'm just learning how to use all the hand tools and learning how to do the wiring and all that. Just a challenge, because I sort of like to challenge myself and do stuff that I haven't done before.
It's amazing. We've had people that are limited to just attaching labels to items, moving up to here to start using drills, screwdrivers, you name it. And they'll come in after a long weekend and go, hey, due to the skill set I've learned here, I've been able to apply that in my own personal life back at home, and I was able to fix this and this. And just seeing that growth within them and the transitions they make over time.
The work that the staff members here at Waverley are doing is fantastic. Their attention to detail on putting these bag radios together is fantastic. There's a lot of fiddly little bits and pieces in these bag radios to swap over, rewire around, and it's great that Waverley and the employees are able to assist with that.
Their attention to detail and just their general skill sets. So trying to showcase that, that's our goal here at the end of the day, and having this CFA work, it's extremely valuable in that sense to support that mission.
Well, what a fantastic story, and a big shout out to the crew at Waverley. You're doing a fantastic job with the radio replacement rollout and ensuring that you put those kits together for the safety and security of our volunteers right across the state. I said Australia then. And certainly I know many members would join me right now to say thank you and well done to the team. And it's a fantastic example of what can be done when government, when agencies collaborate with social enterprises. So congratulations and a big shout out to Shane Peacock for seeing that through and working that through as part of the radio replacement program. Well, Lee, talking about, members with a disability, International Day of People with a Disability. Bit of a misconception out there that if you have a disability, you can't be a firefighter, or more to the point, you can't be an operational firefighter. It's just simply not true, is it?
No, it's not. I was born with 2 fingers on my right hand. When I joined up, I thought, I'm not going to be able to do this. Training, we worked it out. It got pretty hard. I had 3 fingers flapping around on the gloves, so that didn't really work. So I took a set up to Mum and she cut the middle out and sewed it all up. That worked for about a year, and then all of a sudden I got a phone call from the PE department and said, we'd like to have a look and see what we can do. And this was the end products. They basically, after 3 or 4 sessions with them, come up with a few different options and worked out a glove that would suit my hand, especially with the big structure gloves. Mm-hmm. Now, it's probably not the most easiest thing to work with, but it's better than cutting your hand and obviously
absolutely.
Meets the
requirements. So a really good example of, you said, those Super Mars gloves, practical and really sensible. Yep. Modification to allow you to do what you do best, which is not only captain this brigade, but being an operational firefighter on the fireground. And I think it's a really great example.
Yeah, so I strongly urge, if there's anyone out there that thinks, I can't do it because I'm missing this or whatever, there's always a way, and you just got to pick it up and get going.
And CFA, as part of our policy refreshing in the health and safety space, has a policy around reasonable adjustment. And what we've just seen here tonight with your glove, the Super Mars glove, your internal structural glove, is a reasonable adjustment. Mark Tarbert and the team have fixed you up there. They've ensured that you've got a glove that's compliant with Australian standards to ensure that you're getting the maximum amount of protection that any other firefighter in CFA would get. So well done, and thank you very much for sharing your story, Lee, and bringing it to the awareness of everyone that anyone really can do this.
Definitely.
Well, I just want a couple of things to touch on before we close out the evening, because as I've been reminded a couple of times. I've been naughty as usual and run over time. But today I was joined by my fellow chiefs and commissioners at the State Control Centre, where we did a press conference releasing the AFAC Summer Outlook for seasonal bushfire for the respective states. And as you can see on the screen there, that's the national outlook across Australia. But in particular, I'm sure many of you will be looking at the Victorian outlook, which Brad's just flicking to there. We did see the spring-summer outlook, which obviously saw a lot of the west and the southwest in red. But as you can see, the continued dryness across the state has now meant that parts of the southeast, particular the Mornington, right down through to Phillip Island and Wilson's Promontory, and then parts of the northeast have now been included as part of the above average bushfire potential. Preceding rainfall in the last couple of days has certainly not been enough to combat the underlying soil dryness. And a lot of the risk areas that we've identified as part of the summer outlook has been a result of that record low winter rainfall, which resulted in extensive dieback of vegetation in bushland areas, and particularly forested and timbered areas. That vegetation is already dead. No amount of rain is going to bring that back. So the rain that we have seen over the last couple of days, when it does dissipate and dry out, those fuels will then become available for bushfires and the like. Another phenomenon that I touched on during the press conference today was this notion of green drought. We are seeing across some of the rural areas a notion of when you're driving along the road, look out and, geez, that paddock looks green. It might look green, but it's actually very dry, and the underlying vegetation is dry and ready to burn as well. And certainly the Cadnook fire, the Chapel Vale fire that we saw a fortnight ago is really just examples of how dry it is in the landscape at the moment, which saw those fires really grow and spread rather rapidly. So if you want more information, Google AFAC Seasonal Outlook for Summer and read all about the bushfire outlook for not only Victoria but also the other states and territories, because it is quite an increase. Interestingly enough, the Bureau were asked a couple of questions today. In fact, we've come up with a new official term in the State Control Centre, a wacky weather, because it is the sort of the situation that we will see this summer. Hot, northerly winds. We're going to see above average, well above average medium temperatures for day and night across Victoria. But what we are likely to see is more events of what we saw yesterday, rapid storm cells and extensive cells leading to potential deluging downfalls in some areas, but it will be extremely patchy. So it is not beyond the realms this summer to see fires and storms occurring at the same time across parts of the state. So certainly our fire authorities and firefighters will be kept very busy, as well as our colleagues from the State Emergency Service. We'll probably give you some more information and detail next month, but we've just recently released a series of standard operating procedures and updates to standard operating procedures this week, and that's in your inbox as we speak. 502 CFA Equipment Standards and Use SOP, 704 Water Supplies and Firefighting SOP, some changes there in respect to hydrant testing and the showing of water, management of the media at incidents, and the use of personal mobile devices during incidents SOP. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out why we might have changed that SOP, because we want you downloading the Pocket app. Yes, there's the plug again, download the Pocket app. And we want you to use it on the fireground in operational settings, because that's what it was designed for. And another plug for another app, if you haven't done so, and leading into summer, speaking of the summer outlook, is the Vic Emergency app. Download it and stay up to date for the latest emergency information and updates during the fire season for any of those people that haven't got it out there. I know there are many people watching the forum that aren't CFA members. Well, it's been a big night. I want to take this opportunity to thank all my panellists. Scott, I've got to say, you were very popular tonight, very popular. Eric Collier has probably made a really good suggestion there. He says, we've got to sit you down, duct tape you to a chair and get all that information about harvesters and hay out of your mind and get it all written down, because a lot of people in the chat have said how much they enjoyed listening to you talking about that subject. So something tells me you're going to be back on the panel again. Lee, thank you for letting us invade your beautiful station.
Thanks for coming.
And the beautiful Surf Coast. It's fantastic, and thanks for sharing your personal story and bringing attention to what is possible for people coming into our organisation. Mohini, Matt, thank you. Well done, Matt, again. Well done, Mohini.
Thank you.
I'm be keen to hear the feedback from our members as we continue to roll out the Concur app and get those expenses into the bank accounts of our volunteers. To Wayne Aylmer, thank you very much, the Catchment Commander, the great work that he does. To the team at District 7, Alex Batty, the acting ACFO, is sitting in the crowd tonight. Give us a wave there, Alex. Good job. And no, half the crowd did not leave because they're bored tonight. They're all over to the other side having a little sneaky coffee during the videos being played. So thank you very much to Lorne. Thank you very much to the adjoining brigades that are coming along. I see Adrian Gooch, our Deputy Chief Officer for the Southwest region, here in the background as well. Thanks for your support, Adrian, to your volunteers. Thanks to Mandy. Thanks to everyone. But more importantly, thanks to those behind the desk for the great job that you do, because as usual, this presentation wouldn't go on without you. To Martin Anderson, Beth Ramshaw, Alison, and of course to my executive producer, Brad. Job well done, another great forum. Thank you very much. This is the last forum for 2024, and I look forward to coming to you once again in the new year of 2025. With that, go well, go safe, stay safe over the summer period, and I wish absolutely everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy festive season, no matter what you celebrate. Make sure you take time to spend it with your loved ones, with your friends, and have a fantastic time. So everyone, good night and go well.